Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've had some meaningful conversations. One of the reasons I wanted you to spend time talking around your table is because faith was never meant to be lived alone. Sometime hearing someone else say, I've been there too, reminds us that we're not nearly as alone as fear wants us to believe. For these next few minutes, I want us to think about something very practical. I want us to compare the voice of fear with the voice of faith. Because every single day, whether we believe it or not or realize it, we're listening to one of those two voices. Think about your life. Every decision, every challenge, opportunity, setback, every relationship comes with a competing voice. Fear says one thing, faith says another. Fear says, what if I fail? While faith says, what if God helps me to succeed? Fear says, what if things never change? Faith says, what if God isn't finished with me yet? Fear tells us I'm all alone. But faith says God has promised never to leave me nor forsake me. Fear says I'm not enough, while faith says my strength has never been enough because God's strength is enough. Fear tells us I don't know what tomorrow holds. And our faith says I may not know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. Isn't that really what David experienced? Everyone else was listening to Goliath, while David was listening to God. For 40 days, the entire army listened to the giant. Every morning, every evening, the giant repeated the same message. You're going to lose. You're too weak. You don't stand a chance. And eventually, they believed him. Isn't it amazing how repetition shapes our belief? If you hear something long enough, you begin to believe it. That's where truth comes from. And the truth that's truth, whether it's come from television, from social media, your own thoughts. That's the truth. The truth, if we're hearing it from our past, maybe some of us have been listening to fear for so long that we've started to believe it's telling us the truth. But the reality lies right here. Fear is not a prophet. Fear predicts the future without knowing the future. Only God knows the future. That's what Proverbs 3 tells us. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him. In other words, don't let your understanding become your only source of truth. Trust the one who sees what you can't. I heard someone once say, worry is meditating on everything that could go wrong. I think that's true. We often meditate not on God's promises, but on our worst case scenarios. We replay them in our heads. We imagine them. We prepare ourselves for them. And before long, we emotionally are living in a future that hasn't even happened. Jesus speaks directly into that in Matthew 6. He reminds us that worrying about tomorrow doesn't add a single day to our lives. Instead, he says, seek first his kingdom. His kingdom. In other words, keep your eyes on God first. The giant may still be there. The challenge may still be real, but don't let fear become the loudest voice in your life. Don't let it. Let God's promises become louder, not because your circumstances have changed, but because your perspective has. And that brings us back to something we've been saying since this series began. This message isn't that we need a bigger faith. This message is that we have a bigger God. It's a mustard seed faith in a mountain moving God. And as you move into this next discussion, I want you to participate, everyone to participate. There's no right answer. Just be honest. Listen well. Listen well. Encourage one another. Because sometimes hearing someone else's faith helps us strengthen our own. I'll see you in a few minutes with one more video.